I work in a library. The work is not usually exciting, but it is interesting and sometimes fascinating. Books are not dull. They are full of mystery, full of stories waiting to be heard. At the National Library, where I work, I'm sometimes allowed into the deepest parts of the building. Rows and rows of books stretch out into the quiet, waiting to be lifted from a shelf. We have many ancient books with real historical value, books that describe lives thousands of years old. When you touch their covers, you can almost feel the stories waiting to be told. Although I love these books, I sometimes wonder if certain stories should never be told. On this particular day, everyone at work was excited. A recent archaeological dig had uncovered an unusual book. It was bound in some kind of skin, deep red, almost black. The binding was immaculate, as though it could have been made last week, except stamped into the centre of the cover was the triangular Mobius symbol. The centre of it was entirely black, like an entrance to something deeper. No author, no date, no title. Inside were stories, short accounts of people's lives. Many lives, possibly hundreds. The book itself was 4 inches thick, a foot tall and 8 inches wide. The front pages were filled with elegant cursive writing. The back was blank. Around the time the book arrived, we'd employed a recent graduate called Alex. He was in his early 20s, and every day he arrived eager, carefully putting on protective gloves and a mask before beginning his work. The earliest stories were written in cuneiform, etched into animal skin. As the eras changed, so did the pages. Papyrus, vellum, then something stranger. The final 2/3 were made from a cotton bond, paper that does not easily absorb ink. Alex had translated 30 stories. All began differently, but all ended the same. Each life mentioned the book itself, always in the present tense. And every story, across thousands of years, was written in the same hand. After 2 weeks, Alex began to change. His focus slipped and his behaviour grew erratic. He said he knew what he was doing, but it felt like he was forgetting things as quickly as he learned them. In the end, Alex was hospitalised. When I visited him, he looked like a husk of his former self. After that, the book was given to me. I was nervous and at the same time thrilled. I decided to begin with the most recent entry. It was written in English, modern contemporary English. It read, Alexander John Finneman was 23 years old and had a rich life. That was Alex's full name. I pushed myself quickly away from the table. I told myself it was a coincidence. The name Alexander was common. It had been used for centuries. Trying to steady myself, I opened the book again at random. This entry was dated from the 16th century. The subject was also 23. And the phrase appeared again, a rich life. Later that week, I met with Lucas, the senior academic overseeing the dig. His hands were stiff with age, but his bright blue eyes still burned with curiosity. I placed the book carefully in front of us, and then explained the findings so far, with emphasis on the similarities in all of the deciphered stories within the book. Lucas listened as I explained. Every subject had been young, healthy, and above all curious. 2 weeks after finding the book, they became forgetful. And then 2 weeks later, they died, their mind gone. Lucas smiled. Do you know what this is? I shook my head. If I'm right, and I usually am, the book is the Hominis Tertiariat. He began to stand now, and he seemed less shaky than when he'd come in. For centuries, it was believed to have been destroyed during the destruction of the monasteries by Henry VIII. I'm guessing you've never heard of it. I said no, wondering where he was going with this. Well, a rough translation might be 3 people. He grinned, his teeth looking straighter, whiter than earlier. It essentially means three-way humankind. Legend says there really is a storage device for people. Well, their essence is really. You can think of this book as a storage device for human essence. It feeds on the young and the healthy, and then uses that energy to restore the infirm. At least, that's what legend says. As he spoke, the air in the room grew warm and thick. A low vibration settled in my stomach, and I couldn't look away. His appearance began to change even more. His posture straightened, his skin tightened, his voice grew stronger. The book began to pulse. I instinctively moved away. The Mobius symbol drank in the light. Lucas, with a look of greed, placed his hand on the inside of the front cover of the book. Blue light bloomed. Smoke curled upwards. Then he screamed, at first alone, then joined by hundreds of voices. As he was pulled into the book, his body thinned, became translucent. And eventually vanished. Nothing, just silence. The book's cover snapped firmly back in place. I don't know who removed the book, or where it went. I only know Alex died at the same time Lucas vanished, and that we were warned never to speak of it again. There's a reason the Official Secrets Act exists. I still love old books, the smell, the feel of the paper. But I avoid the ones that are very, very old. The ones that look like they might have a soul. No. From those, I keep a very respectful distance. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week for another story.